Welcome back to the Synaxis podcast. We are doing a movie review today. We just saw a film called Sacred Alaska.
And it was really good. We want to do a review of it.
Yeah, it was really well done.
Might as well read the About section from their website.
Yeah, do it.
Right. Sacred Alaska is an award-winning documentary that offers an intimate look into Native Alaskan culture and spirituality. It showcases the profound influence of Orthodoxy, influenced by Russian monks in the late 18th century on Alaskan society. The film highlights the unique way Alaskans have woven their indigenous beliefs with Orthodox traditions, deeply influencing their worldview. Central to this is the concept of learning to become a real person. Through beautiful cinematography and powerful storytelling, Sacred Alaska underscores the profound sacred bond between the Alaskan people, their faith, and the formidable.
So we had the privilege to see a screening of it in town. The director, Simon Scionka, was also there, and we got to spend a little bit of time with him. Hopefully we'll be able to get him on the show at some point.
Yeah, that'd be great.
He seems like a busy dude. We'll see if it works out. But yeah, the film was great. What are some of your initial reactions to it?
I think it's definitely one of the best, if not the best, Orthodox film I've seen. It's up there with The Island. If you guys haven't seen that, that's really good too.
Yeah, The Island's great.
But this is really well done. It's put together it's filmed beautifully.
Yeah.
One of the things he talked about afterwards is now that there are drones available for people, like the footage can be fantastic for a much lower budget than having to, rent a helicopter and stuff. So it's beautifully filmed. It has a good story. It's really organic. It lays itself out in a really good way, and it's fantastic. It really is a must-see.
Yeah, for sure. And it was really personal for me because I've spent some time up in Alaska. Went to Kodiak. I went commercial fishing for a summer. Got to visit Spruce Island, and being able to revisit it through this film was it was a great experience because it really does bring you back there. And so yeah, the film's kind of structured around 4 saints, and those are like the sort of the signposts for each section, but it goes through the history of Orthodoxy in Alaska and how it was brought to the natives by missionaries in like the 1700s. Talks about St. Herman of Alaska, St. Innocent, the equal to the apostles, which is such an epic title for something.
Yeah, it's so cool.
St. Jacob Fetstov, I'm probably butchering his last name, but he was one that I didn't really know much about, so it was cool to learn about him. And then Matushka Olga. And so yeah, it spends some time talking about the history, and then they go out to the native villages that are still there that have kept these traditions this whole time, and it's just, like you said, it just lays out that story so well. And it's not the kind of thing that you can really spoil.
Yeah.
It's like, even if you know what's going to happen, the whole thing is an experience. It's filmed so beautifully, all the nature shots, and the way they're juxtaposed with the content of whatever's being said and at that moment is really cool.
Yeah, they interviewed a lot of priests who are really good storytellers. Like, the way that they tell the story of St. Herman and St. Innocent is really compelling, and it's done really well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, I was really impressed. I mean, I thought I would be biased and would like it because it's an Orthodox film, but it turned out to be so much better than I expected it to be.
Yeah, to your point about the priests, one of the main ones was Father Michael Oleska, and I don't know if he has a degree in history, but he is a historian. You could tell, it just comes through, and his narrative is one of the things that is the backbone of the film. They also interviewed Father Andrew, one of the monks at St. Michael's Skeet on Spruce Island, where St. Herman lived, and it was so awesome to see him in there, because I got to spend some time with him years back. It's been a long time, but there was this one epic shot of him floating through the mist in his skiff, the Archangel, and seeing that on the screen, it was almost breathtaking, because I've seen that in person, and I rowed across that ocean to get to Spruce Island in his little skiff. And there's like a section in the film where he's talking about how, like, when you're out on the open water, you're surrounded by all this chaos, but you also have this feeling that you're in the hands of God, and like even though you're out of control, there's like this peace that you have, that He's guiding you through this chaotic water and stuff. And that was definitely a feeling that I had, like zooming across the waves in that little boat with him. Yeah, and then all the shots of the mossy trees on Spruce Island, and how it's not something. I mean, it's something that you should experience in real life, but the way it comes through in the film is, I guess, as close as you can get to being there without actually being there.
Yeah, you've been to Alaska and I haven't, but it really portrays it as a vast frontier of beauty, you know, and it's really barren, and for so much of it, it's like, it's so distant from most people's experience of what it's like to live, where half the year it's like below zero. So it's really cool to see the lives of all these different tribes, right? Because there's different tribes. I think it focuses mostly on the Yupik, but there are some other tribes.
Yeah, there's the Aleuts and the Tlingits are also in there. But yeah, those were the main ones.
And it shows how it's really carried on into the society today, and still like a center of many villages.
Yeah, one of the things in that description was the idea of like the real person, which is what the word Yupik means. That theme is woven all throughout it. One of the things that struck me the most when it was talking about the native beliefs before they were introduced to Orthodox Christianity, and how they had all of these things that were very similar. Like they were so close to nature, and Father Michael Oleska talks about how they had this belief that like the natural world is this sort of divine mystery that we participate in, and all the creatures, the plants and the animals are all a part of this like order. And they believed that if they caught a fish, or if they went hunting and got some game, it wasn't them conquering nature, it was nature offering itself to them.
Yeah.
Like almost out of mercy, like a self-sacrifice.
Yeah, so that's how they frame it, is it's like a sacrifice, like the fish sacrificing itself so that you could be sustained.
Yeah. And then when the missionaries came and told them about Christ's sacrifice, they were like, oh, of course. Of course God would do that. And the way that they talk about like Orthodoxy being the fulfillment of these native beliefs, and them just like openly accepting it, and how like all of the good things in the culture they already had were also integrated into this new revelation that they accepted, and how you contrast that with a lot of other like, I don't know, inquisitions and other efforts to convert natives, especially when you see in like the Catholics in California and stuff.
Yeah.
And the way they treated the natives and tried to stamp out their language and all of their old culture. It's such a huge contrast there. I don't remember if they talked much about St. Peter the Aleut, but that was his story. I can't remember exactly how it went. He somehow ended up in San Francisco and was being tortured by Catholic inquisitors, and they wanted him to renounce Orthodoxy and become Catholic, Roman Catholic, and he wouldn't do it, and they killed him. And so now he's a martyr. That wasn't in there at all, was it?
Yeah, I don't think it was at all.
Huh. But that story right there is an illustration of like the different...
was it St. Herman that writes letters back saying that some of the Russians who were there before him were mistreating the natives, and that they were forcing them to hunt fur, because the fur trade was the fur trade, I think, came out of, it was like most heavy in Alaska at that time. So there were a lot of like Russian explorers and stuff who were forcing tribal people at gunpoint to pretty much hunt furs and pelts for them.
Yeah, it was like the Russian-American Trade Society or something like that, trade company.
So yeah, I think that they even saw people like St. Herman as like really standing up to them.
Yeah, because they were being exploited by these colonizers or whatever, and St. Herman and all these different monks were kind of whistleblowing and trying to defend them against being abused, and that was one of the reasons why they were so beloved. Yeah, all the saints are amazing. And the way they talk about each story, is so good. But it's also like you said, it's also interjected with the stories of the people that are there today that are like still trying to walk in the footsteps.
Which is why I'm really glad that they put Matushka Olga in it, because she's very recent. Yeah. She's very recent, saying like there are many people in the film who knew her because she was from one of the small villages and lived like a very simple life, very humble, would like just express like immense love for everybody, would make clothes for people. She was like a midwife and would help birth all the babies in the area. And now she's being canonized as a saint. And I really liked how they had a connection to that, where it shows that there are saints still being made in that area from the natives, and it's not just like Russians who showed up and were saints and became saints.
Yeah, and just the simplicity of her life, where it's not. She wasn't necessarily like Saint Innocent who kayaked around like thousands of miles to bring orthodoxy to all these natives. She was just this humble mother in this small community, and she's being exalted now as a saint. And yeah, that's so inspiring to see that. And just being able to see life in the native villages. Another huge theme that I think wraps into the idea of being a real person is the a subsistence living. Like how living in that wilderness, even today, even though there are modern comforts to some extent, like Simon was saying, like they can go to Costco and bring home food and they're happy with that. But
yeah, they said people will show up from the river and, if they have a suitcase of Costco from people, they're not going to deny it. They're going to be happy.
But they still have to fish and hunt and everything, so they still have this traditional subsistence living. And I remember during the Q&A, somebody pointed out that like subsistence is almost a pejorative word now in modern times. It's almost looked down as backwards and savage. But for them, that's like this simplicity and this closeness to nature, this communion with nature that
modern people have kind of lost.
Yeah, we've lost that connection. And seeing this movie like really rekindled that for me, because that was something like going to Alaska and like working on a fishing boat and living that subsistence lifestyle really puts into perspective how insulated we are in modern society, all of these different distractions and entertainments and comforts that we have that cut us off from that like natural rhythm that these natives are still kind of struggling to hold on to. And that ties into like the communion with nature, communion with one another, and how all of that helps to make you a real person.
Yeah, I really liked how they showed that there was a lot of fishing and that people will be out gathering like ripe berries, and just it shows the whole way of living is so much more connected to the cycles and patterns of nature, which in a way just inherently connects you to it, where it's so easy for modern people to like not look at, like I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of like the younger generation like couldn't find their way around by looking at the stars. It's like that's something that even as like when I was a kid, my dad was always kind of big on that. Like you have to know where the sun comes from and where it sets, so you can kind of find where you should always know where north is. And like I feel like modern people are so disconnected to just the patterns of nature, and it helps alienate you and leads towards this kind of technology society where you are, you live in a box and nature's this foreign thing that you want to get away from. And these people are so in tune with nature, and it's really wholesome. I really like how they showed it.
Yeah, it's really wholesome, but it also doesn't like overly glorify it as this sort of like paradise, because they still have their struggles. Obviously, like living out. I've never been in Alaska during the winter, but that's obviously really tough. And then they also, in those communities, there seems to be a big struggle with like alcoholism and abuse and suicide. So it did also show that like there's...
Yeah, it's not Eden.
No, it's not Eden at all. Some other things, we talked about how it's beautifully filmed, but that it's also beautifully edited in the way it would juxtapose. Like it showed one of the natives mending his net, and then it showed a priest weaving a prayer rope simultaneously, and like these two like meditative kind of crafts that they were doing. And I really like, they did a lot of that kind of juxtaposition of images, which is it's so artfully done. It was really a joy to watch, and I can't wait to see it again and share it with other people who aren't able to go.
Yeah, I think it's the kind of thing that would be appealing to people who even aren't Orthodox, where I feel like sometimes trying to get someone like an Orthodox film might be more than people are expecting, where this is so beautifully filmed throughout. And it's like you said, it's edited so well. Like it's beautiful to just watch, like even if you didn't know what was going on and you couldn't hear what was happening, like just looking at it is pretty spectacular. And I feel like the story throughout it unfolds so naturally. Like it just, none of it feels forced. It doesn't feel like a kind of thing where they're like we have an agenda, we have something we want to say about. Like it seemed like they just started filming with a lot of the tribes, and then just naturally a very organic story emerges from it.
Yeah, they just allowed their subjects to tell the story instead of trying to force it into their own kind of narrative. That's really refreshing to see, for sure.
Yeah. How would you rate the movie?
10 kayaks out of 10? I don't know. I was looking for a unit. 10
10 prayer beads. 10 prayer beads.
33 prayer beads out of 33. No, it was great, and it was almost better than I expected it to be. It helped having that personal connection, but now I'm glad that even more people will be able to have that experience who might never be able to go for themselves.
Yeah, I think it has some time where he says that they're going to try to go through some film festivals before they release it onto things like Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Because once you start doing that, it loses the ability to easily be released at like film festivals. So they're approaching a bunch of film festivals, and I hope that really does well, because it's done so well that it could definitely win many awards as a documentary.
I was bummed to hear that a lot of film festivals already turned them down because it's too Christian.
Yeah.
They even said I think they won an award at Azan Fest, which is an Orthodox film festival. He said that he submitted it to one in Alaska, thinking that that's just a home run right there.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, this is about Alaska.
And it's about Alaskan culture, and so organic.
Nah, you don't want it.
Yeah.
And that's a bummer. But he really seemed to take it in stride, though. He seemed to have a good attitude about it. And yeah, he was saying that they're going to try to take it to other Orthodox countries now, like Romania and Greece and Russia and stuff. I know it'll do well there.
Yeah.
That'll be great. And it's really cool. I mean, it's just like, especially for us, because it's the story of Orthodoxy coming to America, and we have this holy pilgrimage site that we can go to, and we can venerate St. Herman's relics. That reminds me. They talk about like how when you go to Spruce Island, you can feel his presence there.
Yeah,
and
multiple people brought
the grace of the Holy Spirit. You can feel his prayers there, and it's true. You can. And it reminded me of this, like one of the episodes from my fishing adventure where we were out on a really choppy ocean, and the way commercial fishing works there is like there like we were salmon fishing, and there were some really good spots, and boats will gather around and then sort of form a line to take turns putting your net out and catching fish. So we were waiting in line, and like the sea started to get really rough, and it was kind of scary, but we all went into the hull of the ship and sang an akathist to St. Herman, and then just like all of the anxiety just went away after that, and we got to take our turn, and it was still super choppy and super rough, but like I could feel that none of us were afraid at all, and we could feel like the presence of St. Herman with us, just like holding us and protecting us, and it all went super smoothly. This movie definitely brought back that feeling in some way, so I like that a lot.
Yeah, and it's the kind of movie that anyone who is listening to this who's interested in seeing it, you should definitely you should write Simon, the director, because they're still trying to do movie showings in theaters.
Yeah.
And we approached him trying to get him to set it up, and we called one of the local theaters. He kind of gave us the steps to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we started calling some theaters, and then found out that one of the other Orthodox churches was already on it, and they set it up at a similar theater. So we were like, great, someone beat us to it.
Yeah.
So it's the kind of thing that if you're interested in seeing it, and it's fantastic, you can pretty easily set it up. So contact him, and he'll give you the steps, and you should be able to set it up in your area and get some of the local parishes. Because we had quite a bit of people come out.
Yeah, it was a good turnout, for sure, and I knew it would be.
Like, they had to make it go to a bigger theater, because it started in one of the smaller theaters, and then at some point it got
sold out, so they sold out.
Yeah, so they got a bigger one.
Yeah. No, it was a great experience, and I'm really glad we saw it.
It seemed like a lot of people come out. There were a lot of many priests, many monks and nuns showed up.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I don't know if I have much more to say for now.
Hopefully we'll get him on for an interview.
Yeah, we'll see. That would be great. We'll keep you guys posted on that. Maybe we could talk about some other things we have coming up. We've recorded a couple sessions with John Kleisig.
Awesome guy. Great author.
Yeah. He's an adjunct professor, and he wrote a book called School World Order about
the technocratic globalization of corporate education, or corporatized education. That's the title of it.
That's the subtitle, yeah, and that pretty much sums it up. It's a pretty, I don't want to say dark, but it is kind of a harrowing read and a little bit scary. But we had a great conversation with him that I'm editing. I'll probably upload some preview clips of that pretty soon and hopefully get the whole thing done.
Yeah, and that'll probably come out as a 2-parter at least of the two main things.
Yeah, it'll have to be a 2-parter. So that's coming up.
It's very dense, a lot of good information. Yeah, a bit of it's maybe a little blackpilling to anyone who's like, they're dumbing the schools down. Like, this is quite a bit of that.
It's definitely a concerted effort with an agenda that is not good in any way. But the conversation is good. And I think it ends on a relatively high note. So I'm excited to get that out there. We have at least a couple more interviews that I'm excited to get done. I guess that's all I'll say for now. But we don't upload a whole lot. I'd like to get more consistent, but I don't know how realistic that is right now. But we'll keep at it, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, see you guys. God bless.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Synaxis podcast. If you like what we do and want to support our work, please consider making a small donation to our Ko-Fi page or picking up a t-shirt, hoodie, or coffee mug from our merch page at JG's Classic Tees. Links in the description. And follow us on Twitter and Instagram for updates. And don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. See ya!